theater project based on a true story of a former football hooligan, Disobedience, Masculinity and Struggle, Pantomime and Polyphonic Chorus, study into the topic of football fans, work with Mystetskyi Arsenal space and with the text of John Milton's poem Paradise Lost in a performance play by Peter Cant, Hooligan. Watch right now. I'm not a great lover of football, so this topic is not very close to my heart. No, I'm not a football hooligan and have never been one. The topic here is much deeper and more complex, I believe.
Each step has been to try to make a new kind of theater, a theater that is poetry.
An unusual play in the style of fashionable immersion theater with a participation effect appeared in Mystetskyi Arsenal's large-scale sets. The effect of promenade performance was a perfect fit with the Arsenal's enfilade space.
I came to the Mystetskyi Arsenal on advice from the British Council here in Kiev, and I was amazed by the space. I thought this was the perfect place to explore the question of the soul.
The space has very strong acoustics and sound. I mean that in here every rustle, every little detail in fact complements this play. Therefore, this is why, in principle, it is such site-specific. This is very important for Mystetskyi Arsenal. I'm interested because this is such an epically expansive space. It gives so much, and perhaps this space inherently creates this play to a larger extent than we do. What do people know about hooligans? The issues of protest fanaticism. Will the viewers understand them? But they got directly involved in large-scale three-dimensional activity. They followed the actors from room to room, followed their scenes, and the development of plot outline. Yes, the viewers are also a part of our play, and we perform certain choreography with them as well. We always have this particular feature when working with Peter. This is not our first time working with audience in this context, when it's moving in space. British director Peter Cant came up with the idea of staging a play about football hooligans by pure chance, during joint work on one startup project by the European Theatre Convention and the Ukrainian Gogol Fest. Well, in general, it all began with Gogol Fest, because Peter and I got acquainted thanks to Gogol Fest.
This was very inspiring to me, and since then I've continued to work with these young actors.
An impetus to start working on Hooligan was imparted by several school photos of Semen, Kyslyi, actor of the Dog Theatre in Kiev. On the photos, Peter Cant saw a 16-year-old boy with a face blooded and swollen from hits. This all happened when Semen was studying at the Kharkiv Lyceum of Arts, practiced Thai boxing, and belonged to the Association of the Metalist Kharkiv football fans. He was very much touched by this topic and said it would be interesting to tell this story.
I remember looking at these photos and I couldn't believe it was the same man in the photographs that was the actor that I knew. On the one hand, there was this man with this face, this young boy with this big body and this muscles and bruised face and big fights. And then there was the actor I knew, Sam, he's a musician, he's a dancer, he's a beautiful man, he's tall and slim and he moves so gracefully. And this was the beginning for me of a beautiful feeling that we had to work on this topic of Sam's life and what happened to him.
And now I am absolutely not a person of that environment, though I must admit, that was interesting to immerse myself in this environment. Semen is seemingly a football hooligan, but he's also not a typical one. Initially, director Peter Cant collected the facts and recorded material from the life of his protagonist. Then there was a search for the language of this play and the ways in which to develop the theme. The route of this creative residence ran through Berlin, Mariupol and Kiev, where the formation of a large, strong team to create this project was completed. It was very unusual because I didn't know how to work with this material and how exactly we will implement this play.
I
understand that the very territory of this football hooliganism is an area of maximum high-level emotional experiences. It was like I wanted to throw myself as a person into such a very high-risk territory. And paradoxically, at the height of this very high risk, the sense and feeling of life felt very strong. When conceiving this production, the director sought answers to many questions. How do we understand that our behavior is worthy or bad? What is considered masculinity? What does being a man mean? And how good is this for the world? How to find answers in Christianity, in religion?
And I realize there's a lot of fighting in the world today. In the UK with Brexit, internationally with the situation between Russia and Ukraine. And I thought, let's look at the soul of a man and think about this fight between the violent man inside and the beautiful theater actor that I knew.
According to Semen Kyslyi, many people who tried exploring this topic on stage or film appeared to be one-sided. Only the surface layer of this phenomenon was considered, and the fans were represented as marginalized people from disadvantaged families. But in fact, it is not so. I understand that as an actor, I have an opportunity to tell this story as an inside participant, who knows the intricacies of it all, in order to properly reveal other issues that exist in this topic of football hooliganism. For me, this play is not so much about hooligans, as it is about a personal choice, because this is probably about a certain group of people, as a community, and it's all about an individual in this community.
This is the name of the show is Hooligan. It's about one hooligan, not hooligans. How do you take responsibility for your life? What do you fight against? How do you find yourself together with other people, and when do you find yourself alone? And this question of being alone and being together is for me a very important theme today. So I think it's a universal appeal. I think people will understand.
And so we tried to develop all these themes in the play. We wanted the viewers to also pose these questions for them to touch this world, but not from such a superficial angle, rather to see certain human nuances. This story has places for more than just violence. There is a place for love, for true friendship and for support. And that's precisely why the director plays the role of an observer from the outside. Every moment here is well thought out. Director Peter Cant very carefully worked over all the details. This particular space has a unique sound. In search of the right answers, the director created a mixture. He combined documented history of a modern hero with a 17th century poem, Paradise Lost, by famous writer John Milton. The play clearly demonstrates the themes of protest and rebellion.
And so this show, Hooligan, is not just about the story of Sam's life and his biography. We also tell a mythical story about the rebellion of Satan against God. And I'm interested in this theme of disobedience and rebellion as a theme in today's society.
But there is also a very important theme of a peculiar football fan culture, because it all also originated in England. And the fact that a director from London is working with this material is also, so to speak, part of his work. In this show, the creative team used different theater elements with physical movement, pantomime, music, poetry. They gathered the texts from everywhere. They borrowed John Milton's poems, used excerpts from Andy Warhol's diaries, and were inspired by Meredith Monk's avant-garde. They used Madonna songs and wrote songs of their own. The music was composed by British composer Jessica Marion Davis. who was especially invited to Kiev to participate in this project.
We use texts from wherever we need, and we take them and we collage them, and we work as a group, as a company, together to decide what goes into the show. So it's a very different way of making a show. You don't have a text to begin, you don't have a play which you start and the actors come to. Everything comes from inside the body of the actor. For example, Sam suggested that the beginning of the show should be a pantomime. He should show the whole history of his life as a hooligan.
Each participant of the performance contributes their energy and makes their contribution, so to speak. There is the main story, mine. There is a story of the so-called devil, played by Shramenko. We have another actress, Mira. She plays as a guide during the play. And well, we have all the other guys that we call chorus. It's not a standard choir, it's a single living organism, in which these guys are responsible for everything. Everything goes in one and the same stream.
Безмолвная была, тихо, как погост. Ты навстречу мне плыла в окружении звезд. Ах, какой ты юной была, и с ума мне сердце свела. Стюардесса по имени Жанна, обожаема ты и желанна. Ангел мой неземной, ты повсюду со мной. Стюардесса по имени Жанна.
Interactions with the public take place throughout the space. The play's design was constructed as a dream, where the viewer himself chooses what to watch, moving freely, listening to monologues or songs performed by the chorus. Each viewer's eyes are his own camera that makes its own movie, which has many layers and puzzles.
We play with the balaclava, the idea of the mask, who is behind the mask, what you can see in the eyes, and what is our own mask, which we hide behind.
I think this freedom that the viewer has is also very interesting for him, and this is also within the play's theme. There is interaction with the public, which also becomes a very important actor in the play.
We work with this surprise element for the audience. We always try to offer a different way of looking at theatre, a different way of understanding art for the audience. How can we go behind the curtain and think about life in a new way tonight and be together differently?
We've been working with him for many years. We understand each other, perhaps even without saying a word. And working with Peter is always quite challenging, because he has quite a different vision of theater.
It's like a drug, and I understand no. I want to try more. I want to continue, and I make decision. I start to train.
The team has already been working together for 3 years and producing plays that it has successfully presented in Germany and Ukraine. And judging by the viewers' reviews, the play Hooligan became an impressive mark for Kiev as a cultural capital.